We are back, final segment with Allison Fields, veterinarian over at
Hermitage Animal Clinic.
Right over there on Lebanon Road in, is it Donaldson Hermitage?
Hermitage.
Hermitage, okay, right there. Just down from the YMCA where I work out, and I see one of your colleagues.
You do?
Yes, Chris.
It's true.
He and I will talk.
I heard he totally lifted you the other day.
The guy's in good shape, and it's nice to know you have veterinarians taking care of their fitness, much as you do as well. Let's go to Joni next, waited through the break. Joni, good morning. Hi, Joni.
Hello, Nick. Hello, Allison.
Hi.
I'm calling about my two little toy poodles. One's a boy and one's a girl, and they'll be 15 in December. The little girl went completely blind, and the little boy cannot hear, but he can see. Is there any way that they cannot get rid of, like, cataracts or fix their hearing or anything? The little girl, they play all the time, but she just tends to run around the house and bump into things. And then the little boy, he can't hear, but he can see, and he just, they're really spunky, but the little girl gets so scared of everything, she wants to stay under the cover. But she's still playful, but is there anything they can do about, her being blind and his ears, he can't hear?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you talked to your vet about this? Because it's okay. It's because there's nothing we can do about the hearing. It happens. They don't make hearing aids for dogs, and if they did, they'd be way too expensive, and it'd fall out of their ears, they'd chew it up, and you'd be very angry. So no. But yeah, if it's due to cataracts that your dog is blind, you can ask your veterinarian for a referral to see the veterinary ophthalmologist, and they do cataract surgeries for dogs. I think it's around $1,200 an eye. A lot of people choose just to do one eye because that way they can see, but they don't have to do the big expense for both. It does require a lot of post-operative follow-up, just like in people. It's drops every 2 hours for a certain amount of time, but once you kind of get past all of that, they do really well and they can see. So talk to your vet about a referral for a consultation for a cataract surgery.
Okay, and she talked about vision and hearing. I'm just curious because I think Rocky, our pug, it just seems that, as he's aged now, he's lost his hearing for the most part. And is that something that's unique to certain breeds, or why does it happen
Why does it happen to old men?
Same thing, nothing special, no real reason, nothing that could have maybe prevented it?
Well, they shouldn't have gone to that Led Zeppelin concert.
Yeah, he loved Led Zeppelin. He would always insist on seats next to the speakers.
Right? That's
Darn
the problem.
That pug of mine. Okay, so it just happens. It's weird because now it's funny. He now only responds, like he'll be sitting looking this way, and the other dog's in front of him. I'll go, "Time to eat, guys," and Juice will get up and he'll turn because he cues off the hearing of the other dogs.
So I always tell people that if you have a dog who has lost their hearing and they're sleeping, this can be a little bit dangerous because in their previous parts of their lives, they heard you coming even though they were sleeping, and when you went up and you touched them, they're like, oh, hey. But now they're dead to the world. They have no idea that you're approaching them, and you can go like this, and they can turn around and snap at you, not because they're mad or angry or anything like that. They're just like, whoa, what's happening? So I often tell people that if you have a dog who is deaf or close to it, stomp your feet as you approach the dog. Yeah, get them used to the vibrations. And I mean, they're used to the walking vibrations, but if you have, if you can stomp a little bit, they can kind of get that, unless you're on a cement floor, and then it's really not going to happen. Your feet are going to hurt.
Do you think, I mean, it's interesting, he still barks like a son of a gun. Can he hear himself bark?
I think that they can hear some. I think that they just don't hear great. Like
I think that's right.
Baxter. Yeah. Baxter went deaf.
Oh.
Pretty much like a 70-year-old man who's tired of listening to his wife went deaf.
Right.
I mean, that dog, you could call his name, you could tell him to do things, and he would do nothing. He could be upstairs, and I got out his heart guard and stuck my thumbnail in the foil that went around it, which is not really loud, and he would magically appear because he could hear it.
Loves that meaty treat.
He was deaf.
If you laid a roast chicken in front of Baxter, would he eat it?
Not unless I told him to.
Really? Gosh, that wouldn't happen with mine.
You know how good he was. He used to sit in the chair with us.
Oh, that's right.
Here.
No, okay, I'm sorry.
Harper.
No, Harper, though.
Harper would not eat it for a bit. And by a bit, I mean probably about 30 seconds, and as long as I was staring at her. If I turned my back, she would totally eat it. And she would probably eat it in front of me after a minute.
You need to do a better job, because I can tell you unequivocally, my pugs would not eat it.
Oh, you're such a liar. You can't even say that with a straight face.
I just said it.
They wouldn't even have pretended not to eat it.
It would be over. That's. Let's go to David. David, good morning. Hi, David.
Hey, Dick, how are you this morning?
Good. How are you, sir?
Pretty good. Hey, you were talking about them firecrackers a while ago and everything. It's been a few years back. I know this boy was supposed to have been a good friend of mine, but come to find out he wasn't. And they took a firecracker. I hate to tell you this.
Oh no, I know where we're going.
If we're going to talk about mean things to dogs, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear about it. Blah, blah,
all right, well,
blah,
go ahead.
Blah.
So, what did they do with it, real quick? I know.
They stuck it up to his dog.
Oh no. Okay. Well, that kind of stuff is that has nothing necessarily to do with fireworks. That has to do with extreme
mean and horrible people.
Fireworks abuse, and that's animal cruelty. And as I said, they're prosecuting. If you see anyone, I've heard stories of that and others I won't go into. You've probably heard them all of how fireworks sometimes are used in a cruel manner beyond just the sound to hurt animals. That's criminal, okay? That's criminal. Blowing them off in your backyard, disturbing the dog next door, maybe not criminal if you're doing it where fireworks are legal. But you do anything with a firecracker to an animal, it's criminal. If I see you doing it, first of all, I'm not sure what I'll do to you, because I may end up behind bars. But I can bet you this, you're going to be reported on it. And if you see it happening, call it. God forbid what this man just described. I hope he called it in. And I know it probably upset him as well. It's horrible. Well, who thinks something like that is all right? A bunch of sickos out there.
Yep.
Sickos, sickos, sickos. All right, so aside from the 4th of July, the heat that we've been dealing with, is there anything else that you have seen of interest that's come into the clinic of late that maybe you should share with our viewers, Allison?
You know, for kitty cats, there is something called bobcat fever, which is the layman's term for cytoxoinosis, which is a very long word and hard to say.
Bobcat fever.
But it used to be really geographically limited to areas, I don't know, 25 years ago. It was really heavy down in Las Casas. But it is moving because the bobcats are moving, and it's tick-borne. So the ticks get on the bobcats and they get this disease that doesn't affect the bobcats. They're just carriers. The ticks fall off, they lay eggs. The babies are born with this disease. And they will bite your house cat, who this disease will kill.
Okay. And is this newer showing up here now? Or?
Yeah, it's
okay.
So 25 years ago it was pretty much down in Las Casas and maybe some other pockets across the state, but we have seen 2 cases in Hermitage, and somebody was telling me that they've seen more cases out in the Mount Juliet and Hermitage area, so it's moving. I mean, Las Casas is moving up this way. So it is really, really, really important for you guys with indoor, outdoor cats, or just outdoor cats, to make sure that you have really good tick control on your cats. Please know that there's not a lot of great tick control. The over-the-counter can have some side effects, and you definitely don't want to use dog stuff on your cats because it will kill them. But talk to your vet about what the best product is to prevent ticks on your cats, because that's really the only way to prevent this disease. It is very hard to treat. Very few cases can be treated, and it's a lot of money, and we usually don't have a cat at the end. So it is not anything to joke around with. Get tick control on your cats if they go outside.
And again, you've heard of this in what areas again? You said maybe some in Mount Juliet. Was that a case?
I know Hermitage because I've diagnosed one. Somebody else. I diagnosed one last month. Somebody else in our clinic, I think, diagnosed one. But then somebody was saying, and I can't remember, that they have seen some out in the east side of Nashville.
And from bobcats, which there are bobcats around. Couldn't it affect any other animal like a dog?
No.
No, it's just cats.
It's cats. I mean, I'm sure that dogs So it's a parasite that gets into the red blood cells, and they like cat red blood cells.
Okay. All right. Hey, are pets, to your knowledge, susceptible to cryptosporidium? Have you heard of crypto? There was a CDC report that just came out about the dangers of getting exposed to that for humans in swimming pools now. It's kind of gross.
Yeah, well, I've had it. I got it from a calf.
You had crypto. Oh.
It's very zoonotic, so it goes from, and calves get it a lot.
You've had it.
Oh, it's a great weight loss program. It's great. I got like 4 of us had it in vets.
Oh my goodness, I haven't talked to someone who had crypto. Yeah. That's awesome.
It's exciting.
Okay. Now, fortunately, you're a healthy individual, so you bounce back, but it can be harmful to someone who's immunocompromised or elderly.
It's just really easily spread, and I had never heard of it in. Honestly, in people and swimming pools, I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah, that's kind of new.
Because literally, it's calves will get it, and so when dairy farmers, or not dairy farmers, but any kind of large animal vet is very well aware of cryptosporidium.
Did they treat it with antibiotics? It's a parasite. How do you treat parasites in general, be it that or any other in an animal? Is it a...
Depends on the type of parasite.
Okay.
There's protozoal parasites, there's worms parasites, helminths, and things like ascarids.
They have to kill them with a poison, or do you take an antibiotic? I don't know, does that work? Or?
We typically don't poison people.
Well, I know, but I thought there's something you can give
that kills the deworm. If they're like worm-like, parasites like hookworms, roundworms, whipworms, tapeworms, we give them a medication that affects their nervous system, that they're invertebrates, and so they have different things.
Different nerves.
Not nerves, but anyway, we can affect their nervous system without affecting mammals' nervous system. So we give a dewormer that doesn't have any effect on vertebrates or mammals, and it kills the...
Isn't that awesome?
What
a
amazing.
Great thing that
Worms
is.
are really kind of cool. They've been around for millions of years, and they are starting to get resistant to... I mean, they have been doing this for years, but they're really tricky tricksters. I mean, they can survive, man. They are... Talk about things that have been around for millions of years. The crocodiles, these things.
Parasites are like... The whole idea of a parasite, though, doesn't... It doesn't want to kill its host, but sometimes it does, doesn't it? If it gets too bad, it weakens it. Well, if the host dies, doesn't the parasite die?
Not necessarily, because it may only live part of its life cycle in that host, and then once that host dies, it comes out of the dead thing and becomes a different life cycle.
Well,
they have different. Oh yeah, I'm telling you,
nasty.
They're kind of crazy. Like tapeworms. Tapeworms. Everybody freaks out about tapeworms because they're gross. Those little rice-like worms that come crawling out of your pet's butt. They got those from eating fleas, and the tapeworm egg was inside the flea, or larvae was inside the flea intestines, and the pet ate the flea, and the flea gets digested, and out of the intestines comes this tapeworm.
Which is not related to the flea in any way. It just happened.
No, it was just hitching a ride.
All right, so one thing after another.
That's why we prevent fleas, because that's gross.
Heartworm's a parasite?
Heartworms are a parasite. They are transmitted by mosquitoes, so they live part of their life, their early life, in mosquitoes in their bloodstream, and then once they are injected or regurgitated back into dogs, who are their chosen host, they then circulate through the body for 4 to 6 months while they're growing up, and then they latch on to the pulmonary vessels and turn into adults.
They said we're done.
Oh, okay.
I love you. We'll see you again in a month.
Sorry to gross you out.
No, that's all right. We'll be right back. Wrap things up after this.